Michael Saylor, becoming quite famous now. Microstrategy, right? And it's his company. It's an IT company, and it does software. Well, in 2020, Mr. Michael Saylor figured, I'm going to put Bitcoin into my treasury asset with all the cash I have, because he's facing the same thing we're all facing, the debasing of the US dollar, right? He figured this game out that the government's playing, saying, okay, I don't want to lose 6-7% of my value every year. It's, a lot of these companies like Apple's and Google's and Microsoft's and Facebook's are all sitting in hundreds of billions of dollars in cash. Well, their money is in treasury bills, but they're collecting 4% now, but they were collecting 0 forever, as opposed to collecting nothing. And on top of that, losing 6 or 7% of that dollar's value sitting in the corporate treasury, because I'm going to go buy Bitcoin. I'm going to protect myself from this debasing of the currency. Brilliant. Okay. So I'm going to start, I'm going to name this segment Buyer Beware, right? So MicroStrategy is a company that is producing software, but now they have become a proxy, okay, for Bitcoin, without a question. But now it's getting out of hand a little bit. So last Thursday, MicroStrategy hit. Here's the chart on MicroStrategy. In his MicroStrategy's Bitcoin holdings chart and purchase history, okay? At the moment, MicroStrategy holds 386,700 Bitcoin. And right now, I think Bitcoin is about 97,000. And the value of the Bitcoin they're holding is close to $37 billion. Obviously, at 100, it'll be 38.6 billion dollars. Okay. Well, this is what MicroStrategy has done. Excuse me, going back a year. This is 1 year, 1 day. These are just charts you're going to see. If you look at the right side of MicroStrategy, what has happened is that MicroStrategy got a little out of control. Okay. When it happened is that it actually, so there's an enterprise value to MicroStrategy. So this is not the edge, but this is the understanding that I want you guys to understand. So as of last week, their Bitcoin holdings are 386,000. Let's go with round numbers, not to confuse anyone. 100,000 Bitcoin. That's the value, let's say. So that's $38.6 billion. All right. Okay. Well, last Thursday, while I was trading, and you guys, well, by the way, please go check the community page of the channel. I'm posting positions, my open positions, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday after the close, 2 p.m. Pacific latest. If you want to follow me, you can tag along, but then do it at your own risk. It's not advice or anything else. So MicroStrategy last Thursday got up to 540,000, while Bitcoin was knocking at the door of 100,000. Well, let's assume Bitcoin is at 100,000. Okay, so these are the notes that you guys need to take. I did all the legwork. So 386,700 Bitcoin is, let's say, 100,000 Bitcoin, 40 billion. Well, at $540 a share, MicroStrategy, okay, has 230 million shares outstanding, including if everybody were to convert all these convertibles and acquire the shares. They have to issue that many shares. So you have to look at an overall float basis or outstanding shares basis at 230 million shares. Okay, 230 million times $540 last Thursday was what? About $120 billion. Okay, well, their Bitcoin holdings are 40 billion. Companies worth 120 billion. Why is everybody falling over each other, paying 3 times their Bitcoin holdings? Well, you're going to say, Sergio, the company, right, is a live and earnings producing company. Yeah, that's called enterprise value. So when MicroStrategy got up to $540 a share times 230 million shares, that's 120 billion. Okay, their Bitcoin holdings is 40, so that means it's 3x their Bitcoin holdings. So that means the marketplace is valuing MicroStrategy's, the difference. So if you took the 40 billion Bitcoin out, by the way, Michael Saylor is not doing this with leverage. I'm going to talk a little shortly about that as well. And then the worst case scenario and what I'm doing. And when I do share, I'm looking at my phone to see, you know, if everything is in order, I'm on topic, is this. 120 billion divided by 40 is 3x. Okay, that same day, Wall Street figured out, wait a minute, 3x is way too high for this because the remainder of the company is not worth 80 billion. It's not. It's an average company at best. It's not a Microsoft. It's not a Google. It's not nothing like that. Okay, they do some cybersecurity software, some enterprise productivity software. So marketplace says, oh, wait a minute, 540 is way too high. Well, sure enough, what happened that day? After hitting 540, the same exact day, stock hit 380. Now, somebody paid 540 for this thing. But now I've figured out that 3x is the limit as far as, so Bitcoin was going up to 100,000, but MicroStrategy was going up. The shares were going up more than Bitcoin. When it got to 3x, it got way too expensive. That's called the, you know, MNAV, and that's called the multiple of net asset value. Well, let's look at MicroStrategy as what it is. It's a Bitcoin proxy. It's a Bitcoin surrogate. So they have 40 billion in Bitcoin. No business for MicroStrategy to go value at 120 billion. Okay. So what happened? Wall Street's smart. There's no free lunches on Wall Street. It, of course, killed that premium. Well, that premium got killed. Let's look, you know, last time I checked, Bitcoin was right about 97, 98,000, which was exactly where MicroStrategy was last Thursday. Okay, 540. Where's MicroStrategy today? 400. So that premium is coming down. So I figured that does really deserves premium, obviously, and there's an existing company that's producing software. So what should that be? I'm thinking it's maybe maximum 1.5 times, right? So the way I value MicroStrategy is take 40 billion in Bitcoin holdings. This does not include the future potential purchases because he's going to issue more convertible notes and stock to buy Bitcoin. He's going to keep doing this to the tune of 42 billion, right? So at 1.5x, I'm very interested in MicroStrategy, stock itself. But leave it to Wall Street, as I said. So this is my analogy when it comes to the whole thing. So Bitcoin, MicroStrategy is going to definitely move with Bitcoin now. Like it or not, it's become this Bitcoin proxy, okay? All right. So if they have 40 billion in Bitcoin, 1.5 times the 40 billion is 60 billion. Okay. Stock right now is at 400. 230 million shares. Okay. Times 400 is about 95 billion or 90 billion, let's say 95 billion. Well, their Bitcoin holdings is what? 40 billion. Right? Well, 1.5 times the 40 billion is 60 billion, and companies at 95 billion. I still think MicroStrategy is too expensive. Okay, so at 1.5 times should be 60 billion. At 60 billion, MicroStrategy should be right around $300 a share. There, I'm interested in MicroStrategy. But more importantly than that, I'm interested in the surrogates of this MicroStrategy or the ETFs of MicroStrategy, or so if MicroStrategy is a turbocharged, supercharged version of Bitcoin, which it becomes so far, right? And I'm also going to make sure you guys understand why these convertibles are being snapped up, okay? And Wall Street created these animals called ETFs of MicroStrategy. So here's my analogy. Bitcoin is the dog, okay? MicroStrategy is the tail of the dog. And extending the tail, there's 2 more tails of the dog. And those are the ETFs that Wall Street created. And those symbols are MSTU, and we all know, and some of my members are trading already, and MSTX. This is MSTU, okay? And there's 2 versions of these, by the way. 2x meaning if MicroStrategy moves 10%, this will move up 10%. If MicroStrategy moves down 10%, this will move down, this will move down 2x 10%, which is 20%. That's why this thing last Thursday when MicroStrategy topped, this thing topped at 315 the same day, hit 145. Now, somebody paid 315 for this and is crying now. And now it's moving up and down 10%, 2x of MicroStrategy on a daily basis. These ETFs, by the way, and this is MSTX, Okay, it hit 220, and the same day it hit 110, 50% lower. Think about it, people. You guys have the stomach to trade this, and you're going to say, okay, what is that chart on the bottom? Well, the top one is the long ETF, and the bottom one is the short ETF. These are not to be bought and hold. These only give you a daily potential return of 2x of MicroStrategy's percentage, up or down. You can buy and hold these to a certain degree, but the way these companies figured out this game of the daily return on MicroStrategy's percentage move is by options, by swaps. That's why the bearish one, as you guys can see, right, on the bottom, it does nothing but lower lows, lower highs. It just keeps losing value, okay? Don't you guys think when MicroStrategy went, or this ETF went from 220 to 110, you should have had this go up 50%? Yeah, it did, but what's going to happen is that you're going to lose time value because a lot of these are done through options. And then when I share my positions with you guys will understand what I'm trying to do, okay? So bottom line, there's a dog of Bitcoin, there's the tail of the dog is MicroStrategy, and there's two tails behind, hanging outside the tail or next to the tail or extension of the tail of these ETFs. It's nuts. It's volatile. It's not for everyone. Please buyer beware what you're doing. But my analysis on MicroStrategy at 400, I think is still too high. Well, let's end it with this. Last time Bitcoin was at 98,000, MicroStrategy was 540. Today, Bitcoin is at 98,000, MicroStrategy is at 400. So Wall Street's kind of agreeing with me, saying that, yeah, the premium is too high. MNAV should not be 3x, 2.5x, 2x. Right now, Bitcoin is, their Bitcoin holdings are, let's say, 40 billion. 2x is 80 billion. Companies at 95 is selling about 2.1, 2.2, right? Too high. And that's why MicroStrategy is at 400 as opposed to 540. Why isn't it at 540? So that all that premium got taken out, right? And shot in the back. And, so when I share my positions, I'm going to explain to you guys what I'm doing with it, how I'm taking advantage of this. And because these ETFs have introduced on MicroStrategy's daily return are creating massive opportunities for me as a person, as a trader. And I have seen, and I'm taking advantage of it. The last 2 weeks in a row, I've taken advantage of it. I'm going to do it the rest of the year, because that's going to be like my ATM, actually, almost to the point of milking it on a weekly basis. So I hope you all understood. If you have any questions, okay, put them in the chat. I will go through them one by one at the end of the show and explain it all to you. And if you do have, if you're not able to watch this because you're feverishly shopping for some good deals on Black Friday, watch the replay, put it in the comments. I respond to every comment. I mean, to me, I think the game is pretty simple, okay? MicroStrategy should at max sell at 1.6, 1.7 times of their Bitcoin holdings.